Hello Sanctuary and anybody else who might be watching this. My name is Josie and I'm one of the leaders at Sanctuary Church in San Francisco. Well, over July, as you know, we've been taking a bit of a break from Sunday services, and I just want to say we are so grateful for that as a family, to have a break from just the practicalities of putting on the Sunday service has been just wonderful for our family. We took a little vacation to Visalia, which is kind of like holidaying on the sun. We've had time at home, kind of just re-engaging with San Francisco post-COVID, and also just seeing friends and enjoying our garden and our neighborhood. Tomorrow we're going to be going to Montana, and Tom is going to be speaking at the Regions Beyond Youth Camp, and we get to go and visit this beautiful state as a family. So we really look forward to seeing you again in August, but yeah, just thank you so much for this break. So I have the pleasure today of talking about Gideon with you, and as I've said before, Gideon is just probably one of my favorite stories in the entire Bible. I love the rags to riches story. I love the diamond in the rough element of this story, that he was a nobody, he was weak, as I talked about before, he was full of shame in terms of his family background, but God still used him. God plucked him out and spoke to him. I love how Tim Harms, my friends, put it, that God relentlessly pursued him. God came after him. Gideon wasn't saying, please use me, I need an adventure. God came after Gideon again and again. He called him, and then he responded when Gideon laid out the fleece and said, I need confirmation if this is really you, God. God came and spoke kind of encouragement and confirmation into him through giving a dream to the enemy that Gideon was then able to overhear. God was so kind to Gideon in how he just again and again just kind of came and bolstered him and gave him faith for what he was doing. He enabled Gideon to lead this army, this small army, 300 men, against the Midianite army, which we hear was like locusts, was like sand on the seashore. Gideon was able to lead that army to victory through God's incredible plan of just having fiery torches and jars that were then smashed, and having them surround the enemy and bring the enemy to a place of confusion. God's incredible creativity, rather than Gideon's strength or military prowess, brought the Israelite army to victory. And that is where I am going to join the story. After this incredible victory, we would hope that Gideon would be in a place of worship. He would be coming back to God saying, thank you that you led me and my army to victory. Thank you, you did what you said you would do. But sadly, we seem to find a real twist in the story at this point. And Gideon seems to go from a place of, in his weakness, being reliant on God, to instead seeming to drop God as his guide and instead rely on himself. We find him at the end of chapter 7, high on adrenaline. He's just won in the battle, even though he didn't even have to fight. He didn't have to lift a sword. And we find him exhausted. And I don't know about you, but I know that if I'm in a place of high adrenaline and I'm physically exhausted, that is a really dangerous place for me to be. So I want us to look, we're going to look at Judges 8, 4-7, and I'm just going to read these few verses to you. And this is Gideon after he has defeated the Midianites in the army. He is now not stopping and resting and asking God and worshiping God. He is continuing. It says, Gideon and his 300 men, exhausted yet keeping up the pursuit, came to the Jordan and crossed it. And he said to the men of Succoth, "Give my troops some bread. They are worn out, and I am still pursuing Zebah and Zalmunna, the kings of Midian." But the officials of Succoth said, "Do you already have the hands of Zebah and Zalmunna in your possession? Why would we give bread to your troops?" And Gideon replied, "Just for that. When my Lord has given Zebah and Zalmunna into my hand, I will tear your flesh with desert thorns and briars." So as I said, it seems as if there is a really marked change in the story here. God is not speaking to Gideon in the way he has so far, and Gideon does not seem to be seeking God out, but instead he is pursuing, exhausted after these kings. And I just want to pull 2 points out. Firstly, I just want to talk about the effects of tiredness. It says here that his army were exhausted, yet they kept on pursuing. And to be honest, when I first read this, I'm a bit of a doer. I'm a 2 Enneagram and a 2/3, so deadly combination. I like to get things done. I always have a to-do list. And to be honest, I think many of us in our society, particularly in San Francisco, really value getting things done. We, in a way, value exhaustion. We value busyness. And we do not think highly of rest. We easily can think people are being lazy or that we're being lazy. And it's easy to think when I read exhausted yet pursuing, I thought, well, they're following after God. They're following after the plans of God. They are pushing through. It's like a marathon. They've hit the pain wall and now they're pushing through. All about perseverance and running the race. In England, we would say, keep calm and carry on. Now, in our society, we praise this. We love this. And it seems as if Gideon is on this winning streak. Why stop now? He wants to kill these kings. He wants to kind of finish the job. Why stop? But the thing is, he is exhausted, and his body and the bodies of his army is telling him that he's exhausted and he should stop. Now, I don't know about you, if you've been in that place before, you're exhausted. Now, I know we do a lot of things in our society to make ourselves carry on. We drink a lot of coffee. We maybe eat sugar. We put a lot of makeup on to hide the bags under our eyes. Maybe we pop a pill. Maybe we have a Red Bull. We do something to try to squish down the weakness of our human bodies because we don't want to listen to that voice that is saying you need to stop. And I know at times in my life, I've had no choice. My body has given out or my emotions have given out, and I've had no choice but to stop. And I'm sure we've probably all had times in our life where that's happened. And I think Gideon is trying to get his men some bread, almost as an equivalent of a bit of a Red Bull or some coffee to help them carry on. He wants to power them up for action. He is not going to God. Instead, he is going to coffee or going to bread. The problem is God made us physical for a reason. Our bodies are like our alarm bells. If we start getting sick a lot, it's probably because we're tired and therefore our immunity is down. If we're feeling stressed and fractious in our emotional state, it's probably because we're tired and we need to rest and reboot. Just like a phone that is only ever charged up for a couple of minutes at a time, we will never be running at full capacity if we don't give ourselves decent periods of rest. In The Princess Bride, one of my favourite movies, a quote says, "I must be overtired," Buttercup managed. "Just the excitement and all." "Rest then," her mother cautioned. Terrible things can happen when you're overtired. I was overtired the night that your father proposed. So although that's a funny quote, there's real deep, dark meaning in that. Terrible things can happen when we are tired. When we are tired, we become lazy about pursuing God, and instead we go to things which can be a quick fix to make ourselves feel better. Maybe it's alcohol, maybe it's drugs, maybe it's a relationship that we know isn't good for us, maybe it's watching something that we know is going to entertain us but it's not going to bring rest to our souls. Maybe it's just eating rubbish food, stuff that isn't going to really sustain us but will give us a bit of a hit and help us in the short term. And I don't know about you, but I know sin can just creep in at those times. In the darkness, when we're feeling tired, we can do things undercover and almost use the excuse of being tired. Things that mean we are not trusting God, but we are trusting in ourselves or trusting in what our flesh might feel or might need. Secondly, I just wanted to talk about the effects of success. So in this story, Gideon has just experienced success, and I know what that's like. I've had times where I've done something, God's helped me to do it, but afterwards I'm not praising God that I have completed this thing or that it's gone well. I am feeling a sense of pride in myself. And it seems that Gideon, at this point in the story, has gone from a place of fear and being incredibly aware of his weakness to a place of feeling full of pride. And instead of coming back to God saying, this was all about you, God, instead, his ego is starting to be inflated and he's starting to make decisions which are not going to be good for him and not going to be good for Israel. We learn as the story goes on. My friend Dave Ainsworth is going to talk about this next week in the video. He does go on to kill these two kings, and he does come back to Succoth, and he does kill these leaders using briars, and he tramples them and with thorns. And then he doesn't just kill them, it says that he kills all the men. He kills the people of Israel as a response to the way that they have spoken to him. He acts poorly because of his success. His ego has become inflated. And the problem is, when we don't trust God, sometimes we still can go on looking like we are successful, looking as if we are bearing fruit. On the surface, things can look good, when underneath we know that we are exhausted trying to keep up the pretense. Success can be a dangerous place to be, and ultimately it will lead to our downfall unless we are dependent upon God. So I just want to encourage you. There's so much more I could say. If you are feeling tired, I just want to encourage you to have a proper break. I know not all of us are able to go on vacation or to go on retreat, but even in your evenings after work, I just encourage you to unplug, switch off your phones, do things that will nourish your soul, not just kind of entertain you. Go into nature, have some time in solitude, have some time with Jesus, have some time resting in him. Jesus said that his yoke is easy and his burden is light. He does not expect us to carry it on our own. He wants to walk with us. And I just want to encourage you, if you are going away, if you are getting to go on vacation, I just want to encourage you to unplug. The world will not stop spinning if you turn your phone off for a few days. Focus on your family. Focus on spending time with your loved ones. Focus on spending time with Jesus. I just want to leave you with some words from this book, Every Moment Holy. And this is the liturgy for leaving on holiday. I'm just going to read you the first bit. O Christ, our Sabbath, you have fashioned us to function best in rhyming lines of work and rest. Our relaxations and recreations like unspoken invitations to that still greater holiday to come, when all burdens will at last be shed and weariness be put to bed, and gladsome joy stretch endlessly before us.